you feeling? Are you feeling concerned, stressed? Are you feeling, do you have anxiety in terms of buying that first home? Feel free to just unmute yourself if you can, or in the chat, just type it in how you're feeling. I mean, we are facing unprecedented times right now, and a lot of people are just really concerned. I'm getting calls all the time. Yeah, someone says SF says all of the above, concerned, uncertain. I don't think we've ever faced this level of uncertainty. But I do have some positive news for you. It's not all doom and gloom. And there is a big elephant in the room, and that is tariffs. These are the big elephant. It's the big elephant in the room, and I get it. I get how people are feeling, but um, we'll I'm sure the politicians are going to figure all of this out, but in the meantime, there are good things happening. It's there is like, you can always find something positive out of a negative situation, and that is right now on the chat. I just posted from a colleague of ours, one of our lenders, RFA Mortgages, and he said, "Hello, DLC Group. How is everyone doing? Rates may be dropping today or tomorrow, just for your information." So we're getting the messages from the lenders because of this whole tariff situation, because the bond market is dropping, rates are dropping, which is great for someone looking to refinance or such as yourselves if you're a first-time home buyer. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel and some light immediately right now, even though we're facing these tariffs. So that is good news, something positive to come out of this negative day. Our goal tonight is an easy one. I want you to feel completely in control and at ease about the process. I want you to say, by the end of this presentation, I want you to say, you know what? We got this. We're good. I want you to look in the mirror and say, we got this. Or look to your partner and say, we got this. We're in control. We're focused. When you are focused with your attention, that's where all your energy will go. I'm a rampant. I love to mountain bike, and I remember one time I was going down the hill, and I was seeing the tree in front of me. I was focused right on the tree, and I was like, George, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. And I, of course, slammed right into the tree, did a 360 in the air, and I lived to tell about it. But we hear about these stories all the time. How could someone driving in the desert hit the only light post around? And it's because that's where their focus goes. I want your focus and your energy to be focused on buying a house. And we are going to be armed with all the information that we need. And if you stay right to the end, I do have some valuable giveaways. But heck, why even wait right to the end? So right here, I want you to see that there is if you scan the QR code, there is uh, it's a home buyer's guide right for your at your fingertips. Scan the QR code. You can download it on your phone, download that on your computers. And let's give you a minute, everyone, if you want to scan that. It's a wonderful little resource at your fingertips. Wonderful. So who am I? What gives me the right to stand up here and talk to you this evening? I was licensed back in 2009, been a broker since 2016. The brokerage that I'm with is Dominion Lending Centers, Expert Financial. We're located in Mississauga. I mean, between mortgage brokering and being a landlord and handling my father's investments. I mean, over 25 years of experience in this industry. I love sailing, mountain biker, traveler. I do don't donate to two organizations, Canada Helps and Care Canada. Canada Helps is an organization dedicated to ending human trafficking here in our country, something I'm pretty passionate about. And Care Canada is an organization to help children and women across the world. Proud donator of those two organizations. A little bit about myself. Uh, so why? Like, why am I doing this? I could be home right now. I could be just in front of the TV. I could be relaxing, and I could just, you know, be enjoying a rainy evening here in Mississauga. So I do this because I genuinely believe that real estate is one of the greatest investments you can make. And I believe everyone should have the opportunity to experience home ownership. And I want to be on that journey with you. I want to be the guide that comes with you on that journey. So here's what we've learned. We've learned most buyers tend to screw up the home buying process. And there's a lot of mistakes people make, and they will end up sometimes in the wrong house, sometimes in the wrong deal. I had a family call me up and they got stuck into a bad product, and they're calling me to sort of rescue them from the situation that they're in. We want to make sure that you're armed with the information so you don't have to worry about that. So, a couple mistakes that we're going to go through. One of the mistakes, number one, is people do not take advantage of home buyer benefits. There's a whole bunch of benefits out there, and people just gloss over them. They don't even know they exist. So, a couple of them are the first-time home buyer savings account. So, the government gives you the option to start up a first-time home buyer savings account. You can drop into that account $8,000 a year, and it's completely tax-free. You can use that to be put towards your house, your home purchase. I think everybody should have one of these accounts. And if you're not a first-time home buyer, there are TFSA accounts, tax-free savings accounts, sort of the same thing. So that's a great little tax benefit to get while saving money. The second benefit we find, based on the type of job someone might have. So we have lenders who give discounts, rate discounts, and just incentives for the types of employment that they have. So a lot of frontline workers, for example, doctors, nurses, police officers. There are programs out there that can benefit those individuals who are situated with like they are frontline workers. And sometimes people gloss over these things too. They don't even know they exist, and they just sign the first contract put in their face. We want to make sure that that doesn't happen. RSPs. It used to be that you could take $35,000 of your RSPs and put that towards your house purchase. The government recently increased that to 60,000. So that's a huge portion. If you've been saving up your RSPs over the years, that is something you could put towards your down payment, towards your home purchase. And it's great. It's better to be 60 than 35, right? And if you have two people, that's 120,000 you could put towards that house purchase. And land transfer tax rebate. So there is a land transfer tax rebate in Ontario. It's about $4,000 that you're given back. Uh, Unfortunately, if you do buy within the city of Toronto, there is a double land transfer tax. But if you buy outside of the city of Toronto, that doesn't apply. I Here I am talking about like $120,000 and $30,000 having all this money. What if you don't? That brings us to another program that we have. It's called our Home Buyers Assistance Program. It's a down payment assistance program. And this is something that is completely there's underexposure about this program, and it really is unfortunate. Let's say you want to buy a house and it's $1 million. So the government rules are if you have $1 million purchase price, the minimum down payment you need is 75,000. What if you don't have 75,000? And even if you did have the 75,000, to afford $1 million home, you would need a substantial income for that down payment. But we got you covered. If you were to put 20% down payment, which is roughly $200,000, we have a lot more latitude, a lot more lenders we can go to get oh geez. I'm so sorry, guys. I have the speaker on and uh, uh, yeah. So what if you were to put $20,000 down? It's which is a substantial amount. 20% is $200,000. we have a lot more latitude in terms of the lenders that we can choose. But you're like, George, I don't have that kind of money. I don't have $200,000 lying around. I don't have it in my back pocket. What if I was to tell you something else? What if you had 5% of the purchase price? In this case, that's $50,000. That's something a bit more manageable that someone could achieve under, some rigid savings programs. And if you were to bring in 5%, in this case, that's $50,000. We have an investor who will come in and provide the other 15%, getting us to this 20% down payment. One of those investors is actually Scotiabank, the big orange bank that everyone knows, Scotiabank Arena is the big Scotiabank. They are one of the investors in this program. And essentially, what it looks like, the equity split between you and Scotiabank or the investors is if you bring in 5% and they bring in 15%, there's an equity split of 25 to 75. With that equity split, we can get out there and get you into a home that you can afford without having to provide that massive down payment. And it is a home in your name that you own. Nobody else owns it. If you were to check the title search, you won't see Scotiabank or any other investors. It is your home. And it's a great program. I could go into a lot more detail on a personalized call, but I want to respect everyone's time tonight. But this exists. This is a down payment assistance program. It's a partnership between you and an investor to help you make that purchase. In fact, if you were interested in a consultation call, that is, you can scan the QR link right there. And I'm going to see if I can type this into the chat as well. Give me a second here. So it's webinar.
Is anyone else having trouble with the QR code? I can't, it doesn't work for me, George.
Okay, that's strange. Okay. So webinar. Well, there's the I just posted the link for the calendar booking in the chat there. If okay, Shamika says it worked for her. Okay, let's see, wonderful.
From the QR code or from the link?
It doesn't matter. The link is there, so I will keep posting the link. Shamika said it worked for the QR code. So what if you don't live in Ontario? I mean, some people move. Some people are thinking, George, I'm living here now. I might be moving to Alberta or Nova Scotia, one of the other provinces. There are first-time home buyer benefits in every province. They all have something. It's just a matter of locating what those are. Obviously, we live in Ontario, and I'm focused on the Ontario benefits, but there are other interprovincial programs out there that exist. They might have different names, but they are out there. Couple of ugly facts here. We find a lot of the big banks will steer people away from these programs, and it's usually because they don't understand the programs. I mean, the guy at the bank, I'll tell you exactly who it is. It's someone who's graduated from university. They took financing over there. They studied all the economics, and they get hired by the bank. Happened to a friend of mine. He was in front of the bank teller for a couple weeks. And then they said, Jeff, we have a different role for you. And they parachuted him into one of the offices, and he was doing mortgages for people. He had no clue what he was doing at the time. And there was no training. It was just figure it out on your own. And this was at one of the big banks. I won't mention the bank, but it's one of the big ones out there. So sometimes people don't, especially the banks, they don't have access or they don't understand some of the programs out there. Sometimes you can be steered away by your realtor, or not even your realtor, friends. I had I was talking about this down payment program for a client of ours. He was the quintessential perfect client for that down payment assistance program. He was all for it. He was all good for it. We were ready to proceed until he spoke to his friends and they said to him, no, 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 you don't want to do that. But they didn't understand the program, right? So you want to make sure that you're, we want to avoid these two ugly
Hmm.
faces. Mistake number two, shopping before getting pre-approved. Ever made a cake before? You got all the recipes for the cake at the batter, it's all working out great, and you're thinking this is gonna be the greatest cake since that I've ever made. And by the time you know it, this is what it comes out to. It's still a cake, but it is, I mean, it is, yeah. That's not something you want to eat. It's not something you want to present to anyone else. Uh, that's why we want to take the proper steps. You want to get pre-approved before you start buying a property. You want to know how much you can afford. You want to be able to focus on the right market and the right property. Your realtor will tell you, "Hey, this is probably a good area to buy." Or listen, this isn't that area a little too shady. Maybe you want to stay away from there. You want to lean on that expertise. You want to shop with confidence. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to be so armed when you're out there shopping with your realtor that you are confident you know exactly what you can afford. And I can't stress how important this entire presentation. This is the one thing that is adamantly important, just being pre-approved, knowing your numbers. Because if you don't know your numbers, you're going to be out there looking at homes you can't afford, or maybe you're not looking at homes that you can afford. So really important to be pre-approved. Mistake number three, not having a professional dream team. That is so important. I don't know if there are any basketball fans here, but in the 1990s, this was the greatest basketball team out there. It was the dream team, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and that was their dream team. They like swept the Olympics, and it's never been forgotten how good the team was because they had put that team together. You got to hire your dream team. Who's on that team? I'm on that team. I'm your mortgage broker. Uh, and I would love to be on this journey with you. But there's also a few other people you could have on this team, such as your home inspector and your lawyer, your agent. But what about your realtor? I want to introduce you right now to Dwight Taylor, and he is the guy in the photo right there.
I look good in there.
Yeah.
I do. I look really good. I just want to say that I met George quite a while ago, and I was impressed right away. I've been doing this real estate since 1980, and I like George. He's very passionate about what he does. He's very sincere. He's not just trying to sell somebody something. He wants to help people. As a matter of fact, he's going to be helping my daughter when she buys her home. And I just think that strongly about him, that not only is he invested in the business, but he shares that passion daily with everyone. And he's out there. He's just not trying to sell. He's out there trying to help. So I would use George. Obviously I'm going to refer George into the right situation. Some people say, well, I can use my own bank. And I said, well, look, that's great. I won't talk you out of it, but maybe just have a conversation. As a first-time buyer, I said to George when I came in earlier tonight, I said, I got to leave a bit early because I have a first-time seller who actually bought the house 4 years ago and now is selling because of a job transfer. And the biggest thing about first-time buyer is, as George says, get the right people working with you, get people that actually care and are going to be there to support you. And George is that type of guy. I've been that kind of guy. I'm more relationship-based sales person. And it's all about making sure you have the information, all the right information. It is absolutely terrifying to buy a home. And believe me, people say, well, you're in real estate, you're not scared about it. Yes, I am. When I bought our home, it was like, did I do the right thing? Is it going to be better tomorrow? Like, I don't know. So I will tell you that every bit of information you have, and the more prepared you are, the better off you're going to feel when you make that decision. So it starts by knowing what the process is going to entail. And not just the people, George as the mortgage broker, Dwight as a real estate agent, but talk to a lawyer. We've got to meet some home inspectors. But this is really important. Know the paperwork, know the procedure. Why? Why we do this? Why do we have that condition in there? And protect yourself. You're going to get all kinds of outside help. Believe me, people really want to help you. They're going to offer an opinion, whether they know anything or not. They're going to say, yeah, 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 I don't think you should do that. Information, knowledge is power here. So be the one getting the knowledge. It's here for you. We're willing to share it with you. And I, I've been doing this, as I said, since 1980. The one thing that I'm very adamant about is I need people to participate in their purchase or their sale. And when I say that, I mean, I'm not the one doing all the work. I want people that are out there trying to learn, doing the searches, asking me, why not this house? Why this house? And we start to discover it. When we start out, you're going to say, Dwight, is this a good price? And by the time we finish, you'll be able to tell me why this is a good house or not a good house. Is a good price, not a good price. And I'm going to ask you. I generally try and talk people out of buying to see if they do have enough information to talk me out of, saying that. And I want you to have so much information that you're so comfortable, because it is going to be terrifying when you do sign the contract, and you got to make sure that you're doing it together. I've had people say, well, you sign it first. No, both of you sign it together. All right. This is a joint venture. Both of you are in. But surround yourself with the right people. If you make the investment in time, this is a huge purchase, I'm guessing. But if you get the right people like George, Dwight, a lawyer that is going to be looking out for your interest, get them on your team, and make sure that they're people that actually care and are not just out for a quick dollar. Because unfortunately, that exists right now. And we got smooth talking people in every profession. Um, I'm happy to give you a list of everybody that I've dealt with, especially first time buyers that would be happy to talk to you and let you know how the experience was. I'm sure George would be happy to do the same. And if our clients are happy with us, it just makes us better. And I really, really am so passionate about this business of real estate, even after 40, 45 years, maybe. Geez, I don't even look 45 years old. But, it's exciting for me. There's nothing more exciting than seeing a young couple or a young person or any person get the home that they want. And they've done the work. They deserve it, but they know everything. There's no surprises after the fact. All right. Always know you don't want to have a bad surprise. Okay. And working with us, we'll do everything that we can to avoid you having a bad surprise. And, questions, we're here to answer anything. And we're here to explain why use us. I'm happy to sit down and tell you why. Why use me? George will tell you why use him. There's thousands of people out there you could use. Just go pick one. No, if you do that, you're not doing your due diligence, and this is an investment. Treat it like that. Put the work in. All right. Get the right people to give you the right information, and you're going to be really happy. And when we talk about market, every market is a good market for someone. And right now, you got a lot of empty condos down in Toronto. You've got other people thinking the sky is falling. And here's the thing is that people say, well, I wish I'd bought back then. Now is then. So it's time to start. If you're interested in doing it, at least get things ready. If you're prepared, you can do great. but I could take you out, show you a house that is $200,000 under market value, and you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't be able to buy it because you're not prepared. And so the more information you get, the more work you put in, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be prepared and you're going to have that step up on anybody else that's looking. So your efforts are going to pay you dividends. And I want to say that working with George is a pleasure. He is a sincere person. He's not just here doing finance and like, let's get this done. And no, he's trying to help somebody up in Sudbury that got themselves in an awful situation. I told him, I said, George, walk away. You know, like you can't help these people. But he says, I'm just making some calls. And it's just like, wow, nobody else that I know would do that. So he's really genuine. And I say that with confidence. I'm happy to have George represent me. I'm happy to have him be part of what I extend out to my clients and say, this is someone I trust. This is someone I would use. And I'm going to tell you that's the best thing I can say about anyone is that they're real and they care. So get to know George, get to know me, and we're happy to help. If you've got other people that you want to work with, great, but don't hesitate to ask us questions too, so that we can be the part of your, system of due diligence, finding out what to do and how to do it. So I will say this guy has been a breath of fresh air. Every time I see him, he's excited. And, you know, it, it excites me to see him that passionate. So I'll give it back to George, but I will tell you, thank you very much. And we are here to help. So, it's how we make our living, but you know what? We're here to help. And the only way we help is if you're happy. So we're trying to make you happy. All right. Thank you for your time. And I'll give you back to George now. Thanks, George.
Awesome.
I really said nice things about you.
He did.
Yeah.
He was too nice. Thank you, Dwight, for coming out tonight and just giving your feedback and your input. It's really appreciated. And like Dwight said, I met him at an open house. I walked in. I'd actually seen a couple of his videos on Instagram, and I thought, man, this guy he exudes trust and confidence and empathy. And I was like, I got to meet that guy. And that's sort of how it worked out. Okay, let's whoa, there's a screen there. Look at I'll put the QR code again just in the chat. The link for the booking if you want to book a call. And there is the QR code as well. So if you want to book a call with me or Dwight, just book a time and we can work that out. So mistake number 4, not having stable employment. And employment, I'm obviously it is such an important factor when it comes down to buying your property or qualifying for your mortgage. And stable employment, what do the banks want to see? They want to see that you've been working for 3 years. They want to see 3 years of consistent income. But you're like, George, I graduated from university or from school. I don't have 3 years. That's fine. If you don't have it, that's okay. The banks just want to know the story, that there's a story that makes sense. That makes sense. Or what if you're new to Canada? Well, you might not have 3 years of employment. Again, as long as the story makes sense, that's something we can sell to the banks. But they are looking for stable income. I mean, and it makes sense. If you were to loan money to your friend, you want to make sure they can pay you back. How are they going to do that? Well, are they working, right? What about someone who's your waitress or your hairdresser or you're working part-time, you're an Uber driver and you get cash and tips and you're like, because I get calls all the time, George, I have this part-time job and it'll help me to qualify. That's wonderful. That's great. The banks want to see. When it comes down to part-time work, it is a standard qualification that everyone uses. We take a 2-year average of your part-time employment. It has to be 2 years. There's no exceptions to that. We need 2 years of part-time income for that to qualify. What about cash and tips? Another factor as well. Um, Listen, I get it. No one wants to pay the tax man. Everyone's trying to escape the CRA. But cash money is really hard for us to use. It's got to be deposited in your account, be it anything from like alimony, child support, cash, tips, whatever the case may be. When it is cash, the banks want to see the trail for that. So if that's what you're enrolled in, get into the habit of depositing that cash so we can see it. We can say, hey, look, every month, here are these tips that sort of stroll in. And oftentimes, someone who's self-employed, we get it all the time. George, I will never qualify for a mortgage because I don't pay the tax man and I don't declare anything on my taxes because I don't want to pay the government. That's great. I get it. I totally understand why people don't want to do that. You're self-employed and your accountant is doing all sorts of tricks to make sure you don't pay any tax. We can still get you a mortgage. We just don't use your CRA documents. What we would use in that case are your bank statements. We take a 12-month average of your bank deposits, and that becomes the income that we can use. Not every lender does that. Some do, some don't. Your typical banks, that's not something that they would entertain. But we have other lenders who certainly would entertain that, and that has allowed us to get people into homes where they otherwise would not have qualified for. So 3 different ways that we use employment. Uh, Another factor we got to take into account for, are there any employment gaps? Like, listen, why were you not working for 3 months or 2 months? Like, why are there gaps in your employment? Sometimes people go on maternity leave. Again, it's explainable. People go back to school. Maybe someone's been traveling for a bit. We want to explain the gaps before you apply for a mortgage. So when I create the story and I'm telling them why they should lend to Dwight, why is he a good candidate to be lent money to? We want to provide that story that he was traveling, he was down in Egypt and he was checking out the pyramids, and that's why he didn't make any money for 2 or 3 months. Whatever the case may be. Not sure if you've ever been to Egypt, Dwight?
No.
But okay. He's on his way. Uh, and also just avoiding the stress. You want to know what you can afford. We want to know what you can afford. I was having this conversation with some brokers the other day, and like Dwight said, there are some not so shady people, or there are some shady people in every industry out there. Here's a couple. They were placed into 2 private mortgages. And the question I had was, in what good sense? Like, how does someone sleep at night knowing that you've squeezed people into a mortgage that they can't afford? And it's unfortunate it happens, right? And someone might get no from a whole bunch of people, but eventually someone might say yes. We want to ensure that doesn't happen to you. Mistake number 5, down payment mistakes. This is a huge one. But, stay calm, think, breathe. We got this. So down payment, what is it? It's the amount of money you are putting down towards your purchase. So you want to make a purchase for your house, you need to provide a down payment. You need some skin in the game. The bank's going to loan you money, but they want to know what you're going to bring into the game. And that's your down payment. It must be in your account for 90 days. The bank wants to make sure that the money that you're using to make your purchase has been in the bank for 90 days. They will ask for 3 months history. They want to make sure the money is yours and it's not from the proceeds of crime or anything nefarious. And it's a standard practice, 90 days. Sometimes they might even ask more. But I mean, for the most part, I think 99% of the time, it is a 90-day history. And if it's not 90 days, we got to explain why that isn't the case. And this is the down payment we want to see. We want to see buyer one, or maybe there's two buyers. We want to see one bank account. Here's your bank account. And I want to give the bank month one, month two, and month three. Three statements for your down payment, easily explainable. Here's our down payment, and it's been in our account for 3 months. I had a client a few months ago, and he didn't follow this pattern. In fact, this is what he followed. He had a savings account, he had money in his TFSA account, he had money in his checking account, his wife had money in her checking account, savings account, they had RRSPs. All of these accounts were being used to create the down payment. It was a nightmare. First of all, for the client, his gathering all of this paperwork is a nightmare. And then I got to sort of make all of this make sense. I had 2 pages worth of notes. So the underwriter, because you got to figure these people, these underwriters, the people at the bank, they are inundated with files. And when they get this, they are likely to say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. Just put it to the side because it is a headache. We want to avoid that headache. We want this. We don't want this. And this situation, we had another problem with the down payment. Part of it was cash. The client had been stuffing cash in whatever, in his drawers. He had cash, a lot of it. And it's like, man, of course I can't use that. Luckily, we were able to use it because his employer used to give a cash tip. He had all the receipts from the employer, and we were able to actually, and we ended up using the cash. But I mean, that was got through by a hair, right? So again, we have good relationships with our lenders, so we can ask sometimes for some leeway when it comes to this stuff. Um, and it's your own funds. As we said, it's got to be your own funds, your saved funds that you've worked for. Um, what about parents? Yes, parents can gift money, and that money does not need to be in your bank for 90 days. It's coming from mom, dad, brother, sister, grandparents. As long as it's family and it's coming from family, direct family, we can use that money, and that doesn't need to be there for 90 days. And it's very common that oftentimes, especially now, I would say, where prices are, where the market is, that families are helping their children out. And a big no-no is no large deposits. So you might be thinking, George, I had a client once, she actually got her inheritance and she deposited it in her account, and there was $50,000, and the bank wanted to know why. So typically, if there is a deposit more than $1,500, the bank can question it. We find usually when it's over 4,000, $3,000 to $4,000, that's when they'll question, like, where did this money come from? Why is it being deposited? It's a large amount, and they just want to know why. And sometimes we have those deposits, and we got to tell the bank, listen, we're not using that towards our down payment. Please exclude that amount. Uh, one more thing on down payment. There's typically 2 types of down payment. There are down payments where someone puts between 5 and 19% down payment. Those are called high ratio mortgages, and they get really great rates, but the government rules are really strict. There's very little leeway. We got to follow the rules. We dot every I, cross every T. But there is, obviously, like I said, there's great rates involved with, and those are the rates you see advertised. It's always these ones down here, 5 to 19%. But if someone can put 20% down or more, a couple of things happen. We have a lot more latitude to reach out to a lot more lenders, and we can make that deal work most often than not. Rate might be a wee bit higher, but it's nothing extravagant. And it really helps. Like I tell people all the time, if you have 20%, let's go for the 20% down payment. If you don't have it, hey, listen, we're going to try our best with what we got. We're going to work with you. I will say one more thing. When you are putting less than 20% down payment, that is called an insured mortgage, and the government mandates that there is an insurance cost towards it. And that could be anything to 5 to 20 to $40,000. I mean, the amount can vary. When you put 20% down or more, that doesn't happen. So that is something to keep in mind. Mistake number 6, understanding credit score. So if you're concerned about your credit score, relax. We've got you. You're going to be just fine. Credit score is something that fluctuates a lot, and a lot of people get scared over it. What is credit score? It is the likelihood. It's a report that says you are likely to pay back the loaned funds. Everyone has a credit score. If you have a credit card, you have a credit score. You might have never checked it, but it is out there. Most banks actually have an option to check your credit score on your banking. Credit scores can average from as low as 500, even 300. You don't want to be in that area. And they go as high as 900. In this little graph, for example, I have 850. Most Canadians, I would say the average, they're around 720. And that's a good credit score. It's not something that the banks are going to worry about. But if you are below 670, right over here, 670, that becomes a problem. It doesn't mean we can't do the mortgage. It just there are a bit more hoops to jump through uh, when you're down that low. We want to make sure everyone is in the blue range over here. Couple of takeaways here. Nobody can pull your credit without your permission. I can't do it. Nobody can do it. If someone is pulling your credit and they don't have your permission, that is against the law. Like there are things that can be taken. So we take credit pulling really serious. I will ask for your signatures on to get your written permission, and I will even call you the day that I do it and say, listen, it's time to pull your credit. I know you've given me your permission, but it's time to actually do it. Do I have your verbals? I will get a verbal from you, and I will get a written permission as well. Second takeaway, soft pulls are generally fine. So when you go to buy a cell phone, they're going to do your cell phone company is going to do a soft pull. It doesn't really affect you at all. And they don't even tell you. So soft pulls are generally fine. It's not as a detailed report. Whoa, what just happened here? It's not a detailed report as a hard pull that I do on my end. So soft pulls are generally fine. Credit fluctuates. It's very normal. Sometimes, you might can't pay your credit bills that month. Your credit cards have come in. It's been tight. We find this especially in February. That is the time, sorry, January. That is the time when we find most people are not paying their credit card payments off. They're paying the minimum balance, if they're even paying that, because they spent all this money over Christmas and now the bill comes in and they got to pay it. And sometimes people can't. And that is the month, January, sometimes into February, when people are damaging their credit. However, you can repair your credit even when you damage it. I'm not a credit expert, but this is a strategy I find that does work. You want to have a minimum of 2 credit cards. The bank wants to make sure you can juggle money. You have access to money and you're not going to blow it all. Because as you know, you can take a cash advance from your credit cards. They want to make sure you're not going to go to Casino Niagara and just blow it all and put it all on red. So the ability to juggle credit, access to money is really important. Always pay more than the minimum balance. If you have the ability to pay more than the minimum balance, that's what you want to do. And if you can pay the full balance off at the end of the month and pay more, that's where you're really fixing your credit score. So for example, let's say your credit card comes in, the balance is $400 for the month. And we don't want you to pay $400. I'm going to ask you to pay $410. If you can pay $410, you're going to get it into the negative range. When it goes into the negative range, that tells Equifax, who's checking your credit all the time, that, whoa, okay, this person is, they're good. They're actually paying more into their credit card than they have to. It doesn't matter. You're going to use the money anyways. You're going to put gas next month. You're going to use that $10 difference. Sometimes I'll put $50 more. Sometimes I'll put $1 more. As long as it goes into the negative range, that is a quick way to really boost up your credit score. It updates every 45 days. Every 45 days, like I said there. And big red alert. This is huge. We do not want you applying for credit until your house has closed. So, case in point, let's say you connect with Dwight. He finds you the house. It's March right now. Let's say the house closes in June. Wonderful. You got the mortgage. Everything's great. You signed all the documents, and you're cruising and wait until June, whatever, the 10th, to get the keys in your hand. And you get the bright idea in May to order all the appliances that you need. Or in April, you end up going to the appliance store, you want new fridges and new couches, and you put it all on credit card, or maybe you might go lease a new vehicle because it's springtime, you want to have a nice fancy car. This is a big no-no. The bank will pull your credit, and if they see that you've taken on extra credit, that can sacrifice or put your file at risk. They will cancel the mortgage, and then you're in real trouble. Again, this is a big no-no. The moment you get the keys in your hand, go apply for all the credit you want, go get a new car, but not until the keys are in your hand and you put the key inside and you unlock the door. That's when you can say, you know what, we should get a new couch over here and new appliances, but not before. I can't stress how important this is. And that's why it's in red and it's highlighting your entire screen right there. There's the booking link again. So if you want to book a call in my calendar, and I'm going to put it in the chat as well, you can scan the QR code. And if you want to have just, again, more conversations about credit or employment, feel free to book a call, and let's see how we can help you out there. And it's in the chat as well. Mistake number 7. A lot of times people get intimidated by the numbers, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So there should be no confusion. When you're getting your mortgage, there should be zero confusion. Everything should be disclosed to you, and you should know your numbers. For example, some of the costs, title insurance, lender fees, lawyer fees, maybe what taxes are there to pay, your monthly payments. Can you afford your monthly payments? Like, that's so important, right? And you're heading off? Okay.
First, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
And hopefully these people that we have here not only learn something tonight, but get to know you a little bit because you can actually make their lives a lot simpler. Anyways,
Okay.
Good.
Dwight,
Take care.
enjoy the night.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, just getting to know your numbers. There should be zero confusion, and that's why I call it ABC. I did a mortgage for this guy, Jesse, a few months ago, and we closed it. I was I was downtown the day of closing. I called him up. I said, Jesse, everything's done. Everything's closed. The money's in your account. And, it was a pleasure working with you. And he says to me, George, how much do I owe you? What do I pay you? And I said, Jesse, you don't pay me a thing. I get paid by the banks. That's who pays me. The bank will actually pay me. And these are your AAA lenders, for example, TD Bank, Scotiabank. They are the ones who pay me 100% of the way. Sometimes they pay more, sometimes they pay less. The pay ranges all over the place. But I am compensated by the bank. But sometimes someone will be like, what if you went to a B lender? Okay, a B lender, they'll pay me generally 50%. Sometimes we take it, and that's fine. If it is a really difficult file, sometimes there may be a broker fee. And what about your C lenders? C lenders, this is where it's someone's in a real bad situation. No bank will lend to them, not even our A lenders or our B lenders. Sometimes we have to go completely private. And in that case, there would be a client the client would be paying the whole amount. But generally, for our purposes right here, 90% of the time, 99 sometimes, I would say I'm just paid by the banks. And there's no fee for you whatsoever. You don't pay me, the banks pay me. Especially for first-time home buyers, it's very rare that we end up going to one of these other lenders. It's always one of our prime A banks. Uh, Mistake number 8 that people make, they don't hire a gladiator. So what is a gladiator? I mean, any dummy can put a lockbox on a door. Anybody can input data. My job isn't to show you the houses. That's Dwight's job. My job is to pick up the sword and fight for you. I am your gladiator. I'm your shield, and I'm there to protect you along the entire way. I'm like your guardian angel on the financing side. I want to make sure your kids can go to a better school than you did. I want to make sure that we can turn the impossible to possible. I want to guide you so you can build more equity in your house because, like I said right in the beginning, real estate is just is an opportunity that everyone should have the opportunity to experience home ownership. And I want to get you mortgage free earlier than later. Case in point, I just did a mortgage this week. We took the person's amortization. So amortization is the amount of time, months or years, for them to pay their mortgage down to zero. We took it from 25 years down to 7. Imagine that. And this isn't paying more. This isn't, doubling payments or anything like that. But sometimes, depending on someone's situation, we can employ different strategies to get people there. I want you to be, this is a selfish request. I want you to be an insane raving fan. So you want George got me mortgage free sooner than better. He made the impossible happen. And like, that's what I want. I want you to be a raving fan. And it's a selfish request for me. What do we do differently? When someone says like it can't be done, we don't believe them. We pull out all the stops. Like that case in Sudbury that Dwight told you about. I am calling every lender I can. I'm exploring every possible option. I'm leaving no stone unturned to see if I can help this lady out. I will build you a custom budget proposal. We're going to go through your whole budget. What do you spend per month, your memberships? We're going to go through some of those items and catalog them and see how we can get you into home ownership. Dwight is going to fight and negotiate for you on your side. We're going to call in favors from our lenders, like I did for the client with the cash deposits. We negotiate really hard with our lenders as well. We push back. We don't always accept the first answer they give. In fact, I just got the one I closed this week actually. We had a rate reduction, and I called the bank and I said, "Listen, I want a rate reduction. Let's apply for it." And the guy says to me, "George, listen, I've done 8 rate reductions. Everyone gets declined." I said, "Do it anyways." It went through and it got approved. He calls me up and says, "George, I can't believe it. Uh, it got approved. We got 20 points off the rate." So we will push hard and negotiate for you. We also are going to consume copious amounts of coffee, just to be, and we're going to be there for you every step of the way. I was doing a file on New Year's Eve. I get a call on New Year's Eve by the client, George, we're putting an offer on a house. I'm like, really, tonight? Like of all nights on New Year's Eve, here I am drinking coffee and other liquids, other cylinders, and there they were putting an offer, but I was there the entire night for them, available to answer their phone calls, and even on New Year's Day with my lender. So um, try getting that done at your bank. Go to your bank and ask them to be there on New Year's Eve for you or New Year's Day. But that's what we do. We're there fighting for you every step of the way. And I bolded this one because this is mine. This is me. Everyone has a mortgage product. I got mortgage products. But where I differ are the strategies that we use. For example, taking the guy who had the 25-year mortgage and getting him down to 7 years, getting the rate reductions. We are working, like, we're not here to sign the deal and move on. I'm not here for the once only. I'm going to be with you for 3 years, 5 years, for your 10-year program, for your 20 years. We are going to be here along every step of the way. And yeah, we're going to be fighting for you. Is every tactic going to work? No. Sometimes, listen, we're going to pull out all the stops. Sometimes we can't succeed, but we'll leave no stone unturned. We are going to fight for you. And by the time we do it, we're gonna be looking like this. We're gonna be beat up and scraped, and we're gonna be tired. But that is us fighting on your behalf. We are your gladiators in your corner. So let me ask everyone right now on the call, are you feeling a little bit less concerned, knowing that rates are dropping in this tariff-rich environment? Are you feeling less stressed out? Have I been able to get rid of some of that uncertainty for you? I mean, if you want to drop that in the chat, let me know. I'd love to hear from everyone. Just, do you feel that this really helped you out? I'm hoping it did. Um, Joseph says less anxious, and like, I can't stress it enough. Like, I'm here for you guys. I hope my sincerity comes out. I am here to help you guys every step of the way. I will guide your hand, and I want to make sure that you don't end up in a nasty mortgage product. And I want to make sure that you got this, right? Um, Definitely less concerned. So what's your job? Your job is one thing. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you really, really want. That's what I want to know. I want to know what you really, really want, and I'm going to see if I can make it happen. Let us worry about that. And this is where you are right now, choosing the gladiator, choosing your team, and we want to get you all the way to level 6 with the approval and the keys in your pocket, in your hand. So we want to help you along this entire stretch of the way and get you there. So I said, if you stuck to the end, there'd be some goodies. So if you want to scan that QR code, this will take you to a site called teamgeorge.mystrategyhub.ca. And it is, if you scan that QR code, I'll give you a minute to scan it. And let me see if I could type the address into the bars, into the chat here. Make sure I don't make any mistakes.
I'm not sure, George, but the same thing, I'm not getting the QR code to work. I don't know if anybody else is or not.
Hub.ca. So it's right there. I just put it in the into the chat. So if you scan the QR code or just click on the link, it'll take you to a site. And on that site, if you go to the top right-hand corner, there is a button called Explore Journeys. You click Explore Journeys, scroll down, and there is a first-time home buyer strategy. It's a small mini course. It'll summarize a lot of the things that we talked about in this presentation, and it's a great start, a great place to start. So again, the link for that is in the chat, and once again, there's the QR code if you want to scan that. I highly encourage you to do that. There's actually other strategies there as well, but this one's focused on first-time home buyers. Second bonus, if you stuck to the end, there is a My Mortgage Toolbox calculator. I don't have a link for this, so you got to scan it on your phone, and this is it's great. It's a little calculator. Basically, it's on your phone. It's a mortgage calculator. You can calculate home prices, your mortgage amounts. You can calculate how much your payments will be. So wherever you are, as long as you have the app, you're driving by, you see an open house, you can run the numbers on your own, and it's a great little resource to have, especially if you're wondering, well, what would it cost me? What would my payments be? I mean, I'm always here for you, but it's a nice little bonus. We find our clients really love downloading the calculator. And
If
number three,
if
back to the
just
end,
very
right here to
quickly,
the
if
end.
the
Bonus number
QR code
three.
doesn't work, if the QR code doesn't work, sorry, George, if they, I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Sorry, it's
I was just saying that if the QR code doesn't work, they can just call you directly
yes,
and you
yes,
can get the calculator to them.
yes, yes. They can call me directly. I can actually send you the calculator as a text message as well. So nothing to worry about there. And oh, well, like I said, uh, this is a huge value. We will reimburse any of your appraisals that are offered. So when you buy a house, one of the steps that has to be done is determining the value of the property. I mean, you might want to, and we were facing a really nasty time in that was 2022. Home prices were just skyrocketing. They were going up I had one client in Ottawa, and every time he'd go looking for a house, $5,000 more. A week later, $5,000 more, $5,000 more. And it got insane. Um, so one of the aspects is doing an appraisal to make sure that the purchase price you've agreed to is warranted by the value of the home. We don't want you buying a home for 900,000 when it's only worth 800,000. Say that's a huge issue, and we want to avoid that. So appraisals are usually required for the most part, and we are willing to cover that cost for you. And that's a huge a value add-on. And they range, I mean, they could range anywhere 500 to 600, and we would love to reimburse you after the fact. And if you were to hop on Google and just search in first-time home buyer mistakes, you're going to find this. You're going to find that a lot of people just don't get pre-qualified. They don't get home inspections. They don't work with realtors. Uh, I didn't work with a realtor. The first time I bought my house, I did not work with a realtor. And I'll tell you what happened. I didn't know I thought I knew what I was doing. And it was many years ago, but I bought my house, signed all the papers, I waived all the conditions. I felt so excited, like I was going to buy this house, and I don't need to, why, bring another party into this transaction. And by the time I was able to I had scheduled another visit into my house. I get to the basement only to find the hot water tank had blown and the basement had flooded. That turned into thousands of dollars of damage. And I didn't have a realtor to advise me against waiving conditions. I didn't hire a home inspector. And I ended up, I was in it at this point. I had to close the deal. I closed it. But I mean, it cost a lot of money. I had to literally gut the entire basement. All of that could have been avoided if I just used a realtor and a home inspector. So I can't stress the importance about using your team members. And step number 4 there is applying for credit before closing. We know better. We know to avoid all these 4 mistakes, the most common ones out there. And this brings us, again, here is the QR code if you want to book a consultation call with me. There's the link. Scan the QR code. I also put it in the chat, so you can click the chat link right there. We can book a one-on-one call. We can go through your situation, your scenario in a lot more detail.